Unit 3, Learning Target Number 5, Add and Subtract Fractions. Most of this should be review, but let's take a quick look back at adding fractions with like denominators. Like denominators simply means that the denominator in both of the fractions is the same. Here we have a numerator of 5 and a denominator of 8, which means 5/8. We have one pizza that is 5/8 pepperoni. In this case, we have 5 out of the 8 pieces of pizza are pepperoni. And we have another pizza that is 2/8 pepperoni, which means that 2 out of the 8 pieces of the pizza are pepperoni. Now, if we have 5/8 and 2/8, well, what do we have? Since it's out of the same number of total pieces, we can just add these together. We can imagine taking these two pieces right here and just sliding them over here. And that will give us 5 plus 2, which is 7/8. And we do the same thing with our fractions. We add the top, 5 plus 2 is 7. And we keep the bottom since they have like denominators, and that gives us 7/8 of a pepperoni pizza. Next, let's take a look at fractions that have unlike denominators. Unlike denominators means simply that the denominator in the fraction is different for both fractions. If you have one piece of pizza that is 4/8 and another pizza that is 2/6 pepperoni, how much pepperoni pizza do you have in total? So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of an 8-piece pizza. And over here we have 2 pieces of a 6-piece pizza. Now it becomes very clear quickly what the problem is when we try to add these together. If we try to add one piece of this pizza with another piece of this pizza over here, we see that the pieces are different sizes. The piece of the 6-piece pizza is actually larger than the piece of the 8-piece pizza. So what we have to do is find a common denominator. Now we have a couple of tricks that will help us do that. So the first thing that we can do is we can take 6 and multiply 6, the denominator in the second fraction, times the top and the bottom of this fraction over here. Now, the reason we can do that is because 6 over 6 is really just 1. Because you can see here, if I take 6 into 6, it goes 1 time with a remainder of 0. So 6 over 6 is just 1. And anytime I multiply 1 by a number, I get that number back. If you remember, that's the identity property of multiplication. 1 times 86 is 86. Anything I multiply by 1, I get that number back. So multiplying by 6 over 6 doesn't change this fraction. It just puts it in a form that is more convenient for us. And then I can also multiply by 8 on this side by the top and the bottom, because again, 8 over 8 is just 1. Again, not changing this fraction except getting it in a different form. And what we wind up with is 24 over 48, because 6 times 4 is 24 and 6 times 8 is 48, plus, as we have a plus sign here, 2 times 8 is 16, 6 times 8 is 48, and I have a common denominator of 48. Both of these have a denominator of 48. Now, since it's a common denominator, I can simply add the two numbers on the top together. 24 and 16 are 40. And I can just bring over the 48. So that gives me 40 over 48. Then I can simplify. 2 goes into 40, but so does 4. 4 will go into 40 and into 48. 4 goes into 40 10 times. And 4 goes into 48 12 times. And we can still simplify even further. 10 is divisible by 2, and that gives me 5. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that my final answer is 5/6. If I take this pizza and combine the leftovers of each that are pepperoni, what I wind up with is 5/6 of a pizza. What happens, however, if we have mixed numbers in our problem? For example, if you have 1 3/8 pizzas and 2 5/6 pepperoni pizzas, how much pepperoni pizza do you have in all? Well, let's count them up. We've got pizzas over here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 out of 8 pieces of pizza. That's helpful. If I can keep it in this format, then I can add them together the same way and get my common denominator. So I simply convert 1 3/8 to a improper fraction. 1 3/8. I multiply the 1 by the 8, that gives me 8. Then I add 3 to it, that gives me 11, and I keep it over the 8. That converts 1 3/8. Then I do the same thing with 2 5/6. I multiply the 2 times the 6, and I get 12. I add the 5, and that gives me 17, and I keep it over the total number of pieces, which is 6. Now I have to find my common denominator. Once again, I'll multiply 6 by both sides over here, and 8 by both top and bottom over here. So 6 over 6 is 1, which again does not change my fraction. 8 over 8 doesn't change my fraction because it's still 1. 6 times 11 is 66, and 6 times 8 is 48. I'm going to add that to, again, 6 times 8 is 48 on the bottom in the denominator. And what is 17 times 8? Do it the same way you did. 7 times 8 is 56. I carry my 5. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 is 13. I get 136 over 48. And that makes sense because I have more than a single pizza. I'm going to have an improper fraction. I add them together. What's 136 plus 66? 6 plus 6 is 12. Carry my 1. 6 plus 9 is 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. Carry my 1, and that gives me 202. I have 202 48ths of a pizza. And as you can tell, for that to make good sense, I need to switch it back over to a mixed number. And for that, I need to find out how many times 48 goes into 202. Well, 48 is almost 50, and 50 goes into 200 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 4 is 16, plus the extra 3 is 19. That leaves us 0. Borrow 1 from here to get 10. We wind up with 10 left over, so 4 and 10 48ths. Now, I can simplify 10 48ths. That will leave me with 4, and 10 is divisible by 2, so that leaves me with 5, and so is 48 divisible by 2. And that leaves me with 24. So 4 and 5 24ths is how much pizza I have when I add together 1 3/8 and 2 5/6. Subtracting fractions works the same way. We simply find our common denominator and subtract across the top and keep the bottom. So we'll bring 5 over here. We'll multiply by 5 over 5. And we'll bring 9 over here and multiply by 9 over 9. That's going to give us 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 9 is 45. Minus 3 times 9 is 27. 5 times 9 is 45. We have a common denominator, so we simply subtract across the top. That gives us 13 45ths because we keep the bottom. And our answer is 13 45ths. We'll try this with this program as well, with this problem as well. In this case, we have to convert back to our improper fractions. So 3 times 5 is 15. We add the 3 to that, which gives us 18 fifths. We then subtract. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4, and we put that over the 3. We then go about finding our common denominator. 3 over 3 on this side, 5 over 5 on this side. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 5 over here is also 15. I'm going to subtract. On this side, 18 times 3, what's that? I'll do it the same way you do. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, 54, and then 4 times 5 is 20. 54 minus 20 is 34 15ths. And then we'll convert it back to another mixed number. How many times does 15 go into 34? It goes twice. 15 goes into 34 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2 is 30. It goes 2 and 4 with a remainder of 4 times. So that means we have 2 and 4/15. Keep our 15th here and put that on the bottom. And that is our answer.